The little girl was very sincere in all this, for, being left alone outside the safe home nest, she felt the need of some kind hand to hold by so sorely that she instinctively turned to the strong and tender friend whose fatherly love most closely surrounds his little children. She missed her mother's help to understand and rule herself, but having been taught where to look, she did her best to find the way and walk in it confidingly. But Amy was a young pilgrim, and just now her burden seemed very heavy. She tried to forget herself, to keep cheerful, and be satisfied with doing right, though no one saw or praised her for it. In her first effort at being very, very good, she decided to make her will as Aunt March had done, so that if she did fall ill and die, her possessions might be justly and generously divided. It cost her pain even to think of giving up the little treasures which, in her eyes, were as precious as the old lady's jewels. During one of her play hours, she wrote out the most important document as well as she could, and with some help from Esther as to certain legal terms, and when the good-natured Frenchwoman had signed her name, Amy felt relieved and laid it by to show Laurie whom she wanted as second witness. As it was a rainy day, she went upstairs to amuse herself in one of the large chambers, and took Polly with her for company. In this room there was a wardrobe full of old-fashioned costumes with which Esther allowed her to play, and it was her favorite amusement to array herself in the faded brocades and parade up and down before the long mirror, making stately curtsies and sweeping her train about with a rustle which delighted her ears. So busy was she in this day that she did not hear Laurie's ring, nor see his face peeping in at her, as she gravely promenaded to and fro, flirting her best fan and tossing her head, on which she wore a great pink turban, contrasting oddly with her blue brocade dress and yellow quilted petticoat. She was obliged to walk carefully, for she had on high-heeled shoes, and, as Laurie told Joe afterward, it was a comical sight to see her mince along in her gay suit, with Polly sidling and bridling just behind her, imitating her as well as he could, and occasionally stopping to laugh or exclaim, "Ain't we fine? Get along, you fright! Hold your tongue! Kiss me, dear! Ha ha!" Having with difficulty restrained an explosion of merriment lest it should offend her Majesty, Laurie tapped and was graciously received. "Sit down and rest while I put these things away. Then I want to consult you about a very serious matter," said Amy, when she had shown her splendor and driven Polly into a corner. "That bird is the trial of my life," she continued, removing the pink mountain from her head, while Laurie seated himself astride of a chair. "Yesterday, when Aunt was asleep and I was trying to be still as a mouse, Polly began to squall and flap about in his cage, so I went to let him out and found a big spider there. I poked it out, and it ran under the bookcase. Polly marched straight after it, stooped down and peeped under the bookcase, saying in his funny way, with a cock of his eye, 'Come out and take a walk, my dear.' I couldn't help laughing, which made Polly swear, and Aunt woke up and scolded us both."
"Did the spider accept the old fellow's invitation?" asked Laurie, yawning.
"Yes, out it came, and away ran Polly, frightened to death, and scrambled up on Aunt's chair, calling out, 'Catch her, catch her, catch her,' as I chased the spider."
"That's a lie, oh Lord!"
cried the parrot, pecking at Laurie's toes.
"I'd wring your neck if you were mine, you old torment!" cried Laurie, shaking his fist at the bird, who put his head on one side and gravely croaked,
"Allie lover, bless your buttons, dears."
"Now I'm ready," said Amy, shutting the wardrobe and taking a paper out of her pocket. "I want you to read that, please, and tell me if it is legal and right. I felt that I ought to do it, for life is uncertain, and I don't want any ill feeling over my tomb." Laurie bit his lips, and turning a little from the pensive speaker, read the following document with praiseworthy gravity, considering the spelling. "My last will and testament. I, Amy Curtis March, being in my sane mind, do give and bequeath all my earthly property, viz. to wit, namely, To my father, my best pictures, sketches, maps, and works of art, including frames. Also my $100 to do what he likes with. To my mother, all my clothes, except the blue apron with pockets, also my likeness, and my medal with much love. To my dear sister Margaret, I give my turquoise ring, if I get it, also my green box with the doves in it, also my piece of real lace from her neck, and my sketch of her as a memorial of her little girl. To Jo, I leave my breast pin, the one mended with sealing wax, also my bra's inkstand, she lost the cover, and my most precious plaster rabbit because I'm sorry I burnt up her store. To Beth, if she lives after me, I give my dolls in a little bury, my fan, my linen collars, and my new slippers, if she can wear them, being thin, when she gets well. And I herewith also leave her my regret that I ever made fun of old Joanna. To my friend and neighbor Theodore Lawrence, I bequeath my papier-mâché portfolio, my clay model of a horse, though he did say it hadn't any neck. Also, in return for his great kindness in the hour of affliction, any one of my artistic works he likes. Notre Dame is the best. To our venerable benefactor, Mr. Lawrence, I leave my purple box with a looking-glass and a cover, which will be nice for his pens and remind him of the departed girl who thanks him for his favors to our family, especially Beth. I wish my favorite playmate Kitty Bryant to have the blue silk apron and my gold bead ring with a kiss. To Hannah I give the bandbox she wanted, and all the patchwork I leave, hoping she will remember me whenever you see. And now, having disposed of my most valuable property, I hope all will be satisfied and not blame the dead. I forgive everyone, and trust that may all meet when the trump shall sound Amen. To this will and testament I set my hand and seal on this 20th day of November, Anni Domini, 1861, Amy Curtis March. Witnesses: Estelle Valnor, Theodore Lawrence. The last name was written in pencil, and Amy explained that he was to rewrite it in ink and seal it up for her properly.
What put it into your head? Did anyone tell you about Beth's giving away her things?
Asked Laurie soberly, as Amy laid a bit of red tape with sealing wax, a taper, and a standish before him. She explained, and then asked anxiously, "What about Beth?"
I'm sorry I spoke, but as I did, I'll tell you. She felt so ill one day that she told Joe she wanted to give her piano to Meg, her cats to you, and the poor old doll to Joe, who would love it for her sake. She was sorry she had so little to give, and left locks of hair to the rest of us, and her best love to Grandpa. She never thought of a will.
Laurie was signing and sealing as she spoke, and did not look up till a great tear dropped on the paper. Amy's face was full of trouble, but she only said, "Don't people put sort of postscripts into their wills sometimes?"
Yes, codicils they call 'em.
"Put one in mine, then, that I wish all my curls cut off and given round to my friends. I forgot it, but I want it done, though it will spoil my looks." Laurie added it, smiling at Amy's last and greatest sacrifice. Then he amused her for an hour, and was much interested in all her trials. But when he came to go, Amy held him back to whisper, with trembling lips, "Is there really any danger about Beth?"
I'm afraid there is, but we must hope for the best, so don't cry, dear."
And Laurie put his arm around her with brotherly gesture, which was very comforting. When he was gone, she went to her little chapel, and, sitting in the twilight, prayed for Beth, with streaming tears and an aching heart, feeling that a million turquoise rings would not console her for the loss of her gentle little sister.